Now, Nigeria just buried President Muhammadu Buhari, a former soldier turned politician. You've written a lot about Nigerian coups and the culture of military coups. From your perspective, when this generation of soldiers turned politician, when they die off, do you think there will be a significant transformation in Nigeria's psyche?
Yeah, so Buhari's presidency, this last presidency as a civilian, to some extent, it was the last outing for what I euphemistically refer to as the class of 1966, which is that generation of generals who became famous during the Civil War and from then on, from the mid 60s all the way into the 90s, that governed Nigeria under successive military regimes. Now, whether people like or dislike that generation of soldier politicians, they had a certain vision of Nigeria and for Nigeria, and they've been the guiding hands that have been dictating political outcomes in Nigeria for the past 60 years. And to some extent, sometimes when there's been crisis in the country, they've been the ones that have been navigating the country out of those crises. Now, the political generation behind them sees Nigeria very, very differently. And I'll answer the question with a semi-question, which is, given that there's this generational difference in political outlooks, it's going to be really interesting to see whether the succeeding generation, what vision they decide to implement for Nigeria, if and when they get into power, and if Nigeria's political system even allows them to implement that vision if they try.
Are you saying they are not in power now? I mean, we have Ababio, we have Tinubu. That generation, they are coming up. They are there. Have we seen? You don't see the vision.
If you look at their history, these people, the two names you mentioned, are people who've been in politics for 35 plus years. They were in politics during actually the latter years of military rule. So to some, and you mentioned the Buhari presidency. I'm not saying anything which the public doesn't know. We know who orchestrated that presidency. To some extent, a lot of the political leaders today are civilian colleagues of that class of 1966. So I don't think yet we've got to, just because they're civilians, I don't think we've got yet to a clean break of people who have no political connection to and who did not make their career under that class of 66. If you even look at the leader of the opposition, Atiku, who did he study his political tutelage under? Major General Yaradua. So they are all students of the class of 66.
In that case, we may never get out of that because it will take a while for them to be out of the stage. I mean, people who grew up or who learned from former military officers.
I mean, the things that Nigeria has not yet had there's this generational asymmetry in that 2/3 of the country are under 30 years old. But then politically, since independence nearly 66 years ago, there's never been a head of state that was born after independence. All of the heads of state were born pre-independence, i.e. they all grew up under military rule. I think the real transition will happen, and it's inevitable. One day, there's going to be a head of state that was born after independence and doesn't carry the political baggage of that 1966 crisis and the years of military rule. And I think that's when you truly see that generational shift.